Okay, just checking. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Full screen, yeah.
All right, thank you. So, just a few housekeeping rules. You're probably already all familiar with this, having attended so many meetings. Once again, my name is Edima Obalulua, and I'll be moderating this EUPS webinar. So, let's all just try to create a safe space, respectful space for everyone. Please make sure you're muted unless asked to speak. So, if you want to speak, you could raise your hand or use the chat box. And if your internet is good, you could turn on your camera when possible. This meeting as well is being recorded. There are a few people who sent messages that they will be unable to join us directly. So they would have to watch the replay, which means the presentations from the speakers, the webinar, the video will be available on our YouTube page, and we will send them to you as well as emails. Now, just a quick look at the agenda. You probably already got this if you registered on our platform. You'll be hearing shortly from Stacey. Stacey will be talking to you about the EUPS project, what you need to know about it if you're not very familiar with it. And then you will be listening to Gavin from ATU, who will talk to you about the different types of one-stop shops, followed by Fabio Silva and Dr. Padraig Lyons. They will be talking to you about energy poverty from IERC, and we will take all the questions together. So we will not break for each speaker to take questions. If you think you might forget your questions, you can put them in the chat box. As it comes to you, we'll take them after, or you could just write them down. All right, so shortly we'll be hearing from our very first speaker, Stacey Phelan. Stacey is an accomplished EU project officer, has a strong track record in delivering sustainability-focused R&D initiatives across Ireland and Europe. Stacey currently works with Southeast Energy Agency and she leads strategic project implementations, stakeholder engagement, and compliance reporting aligning with EU regulations. Stacey also has prior experience working at Carlow County Council, coordinating multi-million euro projects, facilitating international collaboration. Like I said, because of time, I will stop here, but all of these will be included in the presentation materials that will be disseminated, and you could know more about each speaker. Now, over to you, Stacey. I will stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Edima. Yeah, so can you see that, guys?
Yes.
Full screen, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So as Edima mentioned, my name is Stacey Phelan. I'm the European Project Officer in the Southeast Energy Agency. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about our European project, which is called EU Peers. Now, EU Peers is all about European community of practice for European practitioners for integrated home renovation services. So just for the Irish context, the Irish requirements and the aims are to achieve the equivalent of 500,000 homes retrofitted to a BER rating of B2. And we also require the installation of 400,000 heat pumps in existing premises to replace older and less efficient heating systems. This is all to be done by 2030. I'm sure if you're joining today, you're interested in this subject and you may know that we're not quite meeting all those quotas as of yet. But that's what we're hoping to do through these European projects to get to realise these objectives for the EU. So I won't go too much into the OSS model within Ireland, just to show you the different stages, excuse me, the different stages. So stage one is kind of the beginning, the homeowner decides to proceed, and then we get some guidance and home energy assessments, and we can then report the energy report is issued, and there's a review then of the energy report. And then stage two, the homeowner decides to apply for the grant, and then obviously the grant is secured and the final quote and grant is issued. And then stage three, then there's a dedicated project rep assigned, work is finalised, works commence on the site, and then it's completed and the post-work sign off. So throughout all that journey, we're one of the OSSs within Ireland and we're there to help through the stages. So just about the EU Peers project. It's a 3-year funded project. It's running from September 2023 to August 2026. So we're kind of smack bang in the middle of this program at the moment, and it's funded by the European Union's LIFE program. And there are 11 partners spread across 8 different European countries. And these include a mixture of public, private, contractors, energy agencies, and financial institutes. And you can see on the lovely map there the different countries. So we're working with Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Belgium, ourselves, Ireland, Latvia, and Hungary. And the main aim of EU peers is to strengthen and spread the integrated home renovation services concept as a key instrument across Europe. And this is in the hopes to increase the residential renovation rate significantly. So, like I was mentioning, the main kind of crux of the project is to create a community of practice. So, we want to gather all the like minded people and share best practices, share any opinions, options to improve the services. So just for the European context then, so the revised EPBD is to boost the performance of buildings across Europe. So around 40% of energy consumed within the EU is used within buildings. And over a third of the EU's energy relates to GHG emissions, which come from buildings. So as you can see, there's a lot of work to do with retrofitting buildings, particularly in Ireland. There's a lot of older buildings that may have poor energy efficiency items within them. So with the EU Peers Community of Practice, like I was mentioning, it's there to support the development of integrated home renovation services. It's a one-stop shop for residential energy renovation. And we hope to make ambitious home energy renovation much more simple for people and accessible for residents to access this and to retrofit their homes to make it up to that B2 requirement. So it's a key instrument in accelerating the residential energy renovation within the EU. So with the community of practice, we hope to create an inclusive community, engaging and connecting practitioners for collaborative problem solving. We hope to facilitate dialogue and insight sharing, like I was saying, the best practices. And we hope to support skilled practitioners actively getting involved into the implementation of one-stop shops. And obviously, we want to interlink between existing and emerging initiatives that are coming up in this area. So the community of practice is all about collaborative action, collective intelligence, and capacity building. So we'd really like you, if you're anyway interested at all, we'd really love you to join this community of practice. You can be one of 2 types of members. So it can be IHRS providers, so that's including one-stop shops like ourselves, and emerging initiatives involved in the value chain. So we're hoping anyone involved with IHRS providing or one-stop shops, we'd love you to join. Or we also would like anyone to join with other kind of angles, different views. So those such as public authorities, local authorities, stakeholders from the demand and supply side, including housing associations, home energy assessors, architects, and NGOs. And of course, financial institutions are always important. So we'd like all those guys to join. If any of you are interested, like I said, we'll provide that information at the end of this presentation. So if you do join, you'll come across this community of practice charter. So this is basically the cornerstone of the project, like I mentioned, is this community of practice for exchanging, learning, and collaboration. So that charter is they're available for anyone who is looking to join. There's just a lovely picture of a teamwork, collaboration, best practice sharing. It's really important to get the views from across Europe as well, to see where they're at in compare to different kind of climates and the green agendas. So that's just more promotion of our community of practice, which please do join if you are interested. And we will share these links and the instructions to join, like I said, at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much. And if there's any questions, we'll be available at the end. I'll just stop sharing there now, Adima.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize I hadn't unmuted myself. Thank you very much, Stacey. If you're just joining us, this meeting is being recorded and the presentation will be shared at the end of the meeting, including the video recording for those who are unable to join us live for this. So next up, you're also going to, I hope you can see my screen. Sorry, I always like to just check to make sure that everyone can see my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So our next speaker is Mel Gavin, and Mel is a chartered engineer and certified energy manager, has over 20 years experience in a wide range of sustainability projects. Mel currently manages the contract research unit at the Atlantic Technological University, providing outreach, external engagement in research, and this role also includes working as a mentor and technical advisor on the SEAI Sustainable Energy Communities program. And if I may add, a community of practice member, the EUPS community of practice member. So who best to actually talk more about this? I'll stop sharing my screen a bit and hand over to Mel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dima. Okay, and it's been very, I have to say, it's been very positive for me being a member of the community of practice. I think I joined late last year or early this year, and so far I've enjoyed the interaction. So I'm hoping to see more people in that. Okay, I'm just going to share this now. Hopefully you can see the full screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. So I'm going to present this in the context of our EU Life funded project, which is LEAP, which is the Local Energy Agencies for Peripheral Regions. So we worked hard on that acronym, which we often do on research projects. But I will be talking about the type of one-stop shop models that we're trying to develop and some of the particular area-based approaches that we're trialing at the moment. So I'm going to just do a little bit about my own unit here in the ATU, a small overview of the LEAP project, then get into those one-stop shop and energy agency models and have a look at those area-based approaches we're using. So the Atlantic Technology University is a collaboration between a number of previous institutes of technology. We've been a TU now since 2022. So my unit is the contract research unit, and really the point of this graphic here is just to illustrate that all of our work is outward facing with external partners and agencies and funders. Quickly though, the LEAP project itself, we applied to the same EU Life call, which is Integrated Home Renovation Services. So it has to focus on homes with partners in these peripheral regions in the northwest and west of Ireland. We're dealing with coastal communities and island communities as well. A lot of dispersed homes, small villages and small towns, some larger towns. And at the time we applied, there was very little one-stop shop activity in this region, and there weren't really any established energy agencies. So the aim really is to establish those energy agencies at different scales in this region to take a dedicated approach to their target areas. And we're essentially not looking to create something new, but to replicate those successful models like you have here today, Southeast Energy Agency, which started as Carlow Kilkenny, Tipperary Energy Agency, and Codema as well. So the funding we secured essentially brought in this project resource. At ATU, my own team work on this as well. We provide technical support and backup to these energy agencies. But we engaged with 3 partners who are already starting to form an energy agency, and this funding has really secured the first staff resources for those energy agencies. In each one now we have 3 staff, so not huge teams, limited capacity, but they are very, very busy. So in each one we have a manager, we have then a technical project officer or energy officer, and we have an administrator. And I would like to say that we have to value the administrator role. It's very, very important, particularly in small teams. So we have the Northwest Energy Agency active in Donegal. We have the Sligo Leitrim Energy Agency active in Sligo and Leitrim, as you'd imagine. And GFI is active in Connemara and the Gaeltacht areas there and the islands. So GFI is for Gníomhaireacht Fáinne von Iarthar, which is in Irish, it translates as the Western Energy Agency. The strategy we're taking here obviously is to establish the agencies to begin with. Thankfully, that has happened early on. Then we're working with the supply chain, trying to create local supply agreements and local supply capacity. And we have now established retrofitting delivery frameworks. We're also obviously activating the homeowners in the region by providing independent advice and delivering a home renovation service. Particularly when you're working in dispersed areas and you're trying to create an area-based approach, you need to be able to work with different grant models, different grant routes, and finance providers. And there's been a great deal of evolution in that space over the last few years with the Home Energy Upgrade Loan Scheme, and now we also have credit unions with a new Greenify scheme as well. And then we're working with local authorities and social housing bodies to try and kickstart a multi-year work plan of these area-based retrofitting projects. So the role of the energy agency, this won't be brand new to a lot of people, but we felt that it has to be able to operate in these 4 quadrants. We obviously have in the top left quadrant, we have the homeowners themselves. These are the clients. These are going to be the people primarily paying the agencies for services, and the agency helping them access the grants in the funding quadrant, but also access the finance, the loans as well, that are now available through the banks and the credit unions. The other key quadrant here is the delivery one. So being able to access BER assessors to carry out home energy assessments, plumbers, electricians, contractors to carry out the works. This is also a key role of the energy agency. Now, on the right here, you see a graphic table from an EU project, Innovate, which is quite a few years old now, but it's still a very good model in trying to define the level of service you want your one-stop shop to deliver. At the very top, we have a facilitation model. And this is an advice model, not taking a great deal of risk, but obviously giving a homeowner some starting advice. On the left of the table there, we've created these graphics as what we feel are the required resources to operate at these different levels. So for the facilitation model, we think you should have a full-time local resource, and that trusted local factor we think is very important. It's likely that you would need some technical backup, some technical support. Getting into the coordination model, then you're really getting into a service, you're providing a service. This is likely to be a paid service. You're going to require increased administration and probably some commercial and industry expertise. Typically, this could be identifying contractors for the homeowner, carrying out the first assessment for the homeowner, advising which measures are right for their home, and then helping them manage the project as they go forward. And then the last one on this table shown here is the all-inclusive model. This is the one-stop shop model, where the one-stop shop is taking full responsibility with the homeowner. You're essentially acting at a contractor level, even though, as you can see with our teams, they have to subcontract those works, but they have to manage that risk between them and the subcontractors and offer a full service to the homeowners. Now, in the LEAP project, all 3 agencies are acting in those two levels there, coordination and all-inclusive. So for our area-based projects, we're really trying to get into neighborhoods and local areas and trying to build momentum that way. This approach is mentioned in the renovation wave. It's promoted as a way to build momentum and maybe scale up. So we start by identifying the areas, carrying out an area selection and analysis. We've developed, through the SEC program, we've developed some census and BER data mining tools that help us get a first picture of the area. Establishing supply capacity, as I mentioned, is important. Thankfully, all of our agencies now have some formal contract agreements in place with subcontractors. And then we get into the local engagement. It could be community events, it could be drop-in clinics, it can be one-to-ones. We're signing them up for home energy assessments. And then there's the point where they see what the recommended measures are and what the cost estimate is. And this is where we get this threshold for commitment. So converting from that side, the interested side of that line, to getting into contracts, grant applications and works, this is a real challenge. So there can be quite a lot of attrition from one side to the other. So some of the models we've been working on, at the very start, our energy agency were only starting out. They didn't have established supply agreements with local contractors, local installers. So one of the models we're working on is the local authority catalyst. And thankfully, we had good partnership with the local authorities in the LEAP project. So the Northwest Energy Agency in particular and Donegal County Council agreed to work together. In this model, the local authority are already planning out works for the year ahead in certain areas and at certain times. The energy agency, by agreement with their contractor, with the local authority's contractor, will try and invite the private homes from those areas into the same project at the time. So they've been working on this for quite a while and working in all 5 municipal districts of Donegal. Just one example here is this area that was targeted in 2024, Mountain View and Bundoran. In that street, you had 8 local authority homes, but there were 12 private homes. So we could examine the BER data and get a good picture of those private homes. the Northwest Energy Agency engaged with all 12 of those. Unfortunately, only one of those converted into an actual retrofit. So this is one of the key challenges that was noted. Now, some of the other lessons from that model, that the local engagement tends to be quite successful. It's likely to be from a perception of working with a trusted partner like the Donegal County Council. But the conversion from interest to commitment there, in general, across a lot of those efforts was less than 3%. So that's quite a lot of time expended for not many homes retrofitted. The scheduling of the homes obviously needs to tie in with the local authority program. So that can be challenging as well. It just may not suit the homeowner, the private homeowners as well. Initially, Northwest Energy Agency started this literally in the same street that the local authorities were planning their works, but they've expanded that now to the town or the village they're in, and they're getting more buy-in that way. So it's an ongoing model. The more simple version here is just a targeted retrofitting campaigns, selecting areas not tied to the local authority program, but working with the local authority climate action teams. So the image here on the right shows the outcome of one community event in collaboration with the local authority in Carrick-on-Shannon, and these are some homes that went ahead with at least a home energy assessment, and some of those are going ahead with works now. So these kind of tools we've developed really help with that early stage engagement, where you show people a map of their area and data really tied to their area, and you can talk them through that. Approaching them with some cost estimates at the start is also very useful. So the lessons learned here are really working with an existing local community group in that area works much better than just going there cold. On the right here, you can see two examples of that. So on the right, the first image there shows one of those events in Carrick-on-Shannon was with a local community service organisation, a family resource centre that works with local community groups. By working with them, we filled a small room, but we filled a small room and got 11 expressions of interest for a home energy assessment. So that carried on to 11 home energy assessments, and 3 of those went ahead with some retrofit works. That's quite a good conversion rate. By comparison, the lower image then shows an event here in the ATU, where we targeted a large local estate, 800 leaflet drops, but we hadn't gone to a local organization, a local community organization, and we got about 9 people that night. So, and very little converted to much. I think we got 1 HA out of that. So that's the kind of that's one of the lessons we learned from that. Ultimately, when we're going to these areas, we want our agencies to be able to offer some service for all budget ranges. Now that means for the agency being able to help the homeowner navigate different grant routes, different finance options, and obviously there's different outcomes. But the outcomes on the right then at least speak to some progression for those homeowners, even if it's just comfort and seeing what the pathway to B2 looks like. If they're in the mid-range here, can we get the home to a heat pump ready status? Obviously, if they have the budget, 30,000, 40,000 as a net cost, they can look to the deep retrofit in one go. And that's the current status as of June this year. This was one of our most recent reports to the EU. There were a total of 133 homes completed retrofit between the 3 partners. Some of those were through Warmer Homes because Sligo Leitrim Energy Agency was appointed to the Warmer Homes framework. And you can see the average BER uplift. So there's quite a mix of shallow, medium, and deep retrofit in that. So we obviously have to build on that. And one of the key things is our agencies are really working to try and streamline their own services now and improve the amount of homes they can manage at any one time. Okay, I hope I haven't gone over time, and I'll be here to answer questions later.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mel. If you do have questions, please drop it in the chat box and we would be happy to take your questions as soon as all the speakers are done. And you could also write it down just in case. All right, so we're going to be hearing from 2 more speakers. Fabio Silva, they will be speaking back to back. They're both from IHRS. So prepare your questions as well. Now, Dr. Fabio Silva is a software engineer, is a senior researcher in the International Energy Research Center, that's the IERC, part of the Tyndall National Institute and the University College Cork. Now, Fabio has worked on several projects covering a broad range of aspects from energy poverty to energy data science and energy technologies. Also, a member of the Alliance for IoT and Edge Computing Innovation Energy Working Groups, also a co principal investigator and project leader at the Irish Energy Poverty Observatory, and that's the IREPO funded by SEAI. You'll be hearing shortly about that as well. And alongside, you're going to be hearing from Dr. Padraig Lyons, who is the head of group at the IRC, has also held roles across the academia in industry, including senior strategy role with the Irish Distribution System Operator, DSO, ESB Networks, and his research is focused on the integration of existing electricity and new energy vectors and storage to decarbonize the energy systems. Dr. Lyons is the chartered engineer, a fellow at the School of Engineering, University College Cork, a member of the International Smart Grid Action Network's Working Group 7 on smart grids transitions. Now, don't forget, this presentation is going to be shared with you alongside the video, so please don't worry in case you haven't gotten everything out of it. Now, over to you, Dr. Fabio and Dr. Padraig.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see the full screen? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Just a second here for me. Still full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank EU peers for inviting us and giving us opportunity to present our group and our initiative, one of our projects, the Irish Energy Poverty Observatory. But I think now I think it's a good idea if I give the floor to Dr. Padraig so he can introduce our group and some of our initiatives, other initiatives as well. Okay, Padraig?
Okay. Maybe move on to the, yeah. So, so as we were got a lovely introduction there a few minutes ago. Thank you very much for that. We're both part of a group at Tyndall National Institute called International Energy Research Center. Tyndall National Institute is a joint venture between UCC and the Irish government with about 600 staff and postgraduates in the center in the institute. We are the leaders of the energy activities within the institute, and IRC has about 30 staff and postgraduates and administrators, and we are hosting I think approximately about 6 million euros worth of projects at the moment, keeping everybody fit and found. And we have our research focuses in a number of areas, four key areas. We have a team that looks at smart grids and power electronics, energy storage and renewable energy systems integration. We have a team that is looking at the consumption of energy in buildings from a modeling point of view. We also do a substantial amount of activity in the area of using big data and artificial intelligence techniques to support the low carbon transition. We're also looking at how the different energy vectors. So, a lot of our in the previous world, a lot of the oil, transport, and electricity all seem to exist in different worlds, but with the increasing electrification of the energy system and the rise of new energy vectors such as hydrogen, to deploy these in the most intelligent way possible, it'll be really important to enable us to decarbonize as soon and as cost effectively as possible. And also we have a team that's looking at energy efficiency and energy policy development. So that's a crossover with the kind of work that we've been talking over the past few minutes, and I was very interested in what the previous speakers had to say in kind of areas which are very complementary to us. So one of the kind of most significant projects in this area that we would have undertaken over the past couple of years would have been the upstairs project. And like, you know, some of the similar ideas to what Mel was talking about in the previous presentation were piloted. So as part of this project, we led it from IERC, Tyndall, and there was 8 countries involved, and we'd 5 pilots in 4 countries, including Bulgaria, Spain, Ireland, and I'm trying to remember the last country. I think it was Slovenia. So as part of that, we were trying our own version of a one-stop shop, and this one-stop shop is a one-stop shop to support the development of energy communities. So as part of this, we, in collaboration with Cork City Council, who was another partner in the project, we established the Home Energy Upgrade Office. So if any of you visited Cork before the works began in Bishop Lucy Park, there was a lovely, what I would call caboodle, in the center of the city where citizens could come and go and learn more about energy communities, and also about being prosumers, and also about retrofitting their homes, right? So we were testing our version of one-stop shops for energy communities at this Home Energy Upgrade Office. We also established a digital platform to facilitate citizens and communities to be formed, and aligning their priorities so that they become natural communities with the help of the community energy champions that we'd also trialed and piloted as part of the program. So we set up 5 one-stop shops for energy communities across Europe. With all these European Union projects, particularly the LIFE or I think this was a CSA project, there's a certain amount of KPIs that we need to establish and to look at. And you know, the figure shown from our colleagues was that we triggered 66 million euros across the 5 one-stop shops and energy investments, and we engaged in 10,000 customers in sustainable energy activities. I suppose just to chime with what the previous speaker said, we did find that we had a lot more engagement in the area of retrofitting, you know, looking for support for retrofitting and being a one-stop shop or an early stop for retrofitting buildings. We had, of course, as I alluded to there previously, we had a digital platform, but we got significantly more engagement from the one-stop shop itself, located on the Grand Parade, and there was a good passing trade, and a lot of the people who are willing to engage in these concepts tended to be people, you know, I have to be careful about how I phrase this, but tended to be people who are more happy with a personal touch, a one-to-one touch, than maybe going online to get their information. You know, and a key takeaway from the project is that some of the, you know, there's a lot of supports here in Ireland, for example, to support retrofitting, and Mel will probably agree with some of the stuff that I'm saying here, is that while there's a lot of support, it's be quite difficult and challenging to access them, particularly if you maybe not so computer literate. That was the one-stop shop for upstairs, and just building on that, and there's probably not a slide to that. We have another project which I think some of you might be interested, called OSS, and that is leveraging from some of the successful elements of upstairs, where we're looking to pilot one-stop shops. I think, if I recall, I think is it phase 1 or level 1 Mel referred to previously, type shops where we provide information and facilitation to citizens to begin their retrofit journey. And we're piloting that one-stop shop in a number of countries across Europe, and we're developing curricula and training materials for the retrofit champions in each of the jurisdictions, which is ongoing. So that project is about a year old. So I think probably I'll hand over now at this stage maybe to Fabio, and he's going to talk into in a bit more detail about the Irish Energy Poverty Observatory, which we are leading. Okay, Fabio, over to you.
Thank you so much, Padraig. I will introduce you guys to one of other initiatives from inside the IRC, the Irish Energy Poverty, funded by SEI. And this project is supposed to bring together data and expertise, which aligns perfectly with some aspects of the community of practice, as it's supposed to bring that expertise that's beyond typical metrics that we can have for energy poverty. Okay, but first, a high level, a REPO in a nutshell. We have three basic columns for a REPO. The first one is it's a federated database where we can bring reliable data to a centralized platform where we can share the data with the community, researchers, policymakers, and so on. And somehow we can control that data in a way to guarantee that GDPR is observed all the time, and licensing as well, meaning how data can be imported, how data can be used, for how long that it can be used, and in a way that it becomes, as it's a term used in the area, that's to say the data should be as open as possible and as closed as necessary. So beyond reliable databases, the REPO platform is supposed to bring that data, share that data, respecting all the regulations that we have here. Regulations are there for very serious reasons, especially information that can include personal data. And we are really careful with those aspects. The second column here would be the expertise collaboration, which has perfect and total alignment with community of practice. This project from its beginning, 2 years ago, in the first inceptions about the concept of the project, had that as a vital contribution to the outcomes that we can get from the Irish Energy Poverty Observatory, meaning that the expertise is fundamental. As I said before, the typical data, typical metrics is quite simple. It's quite available at some point. We have some issues with that, of course, but the type of collaboration, the type of information that we can get from community of practice is gold, is pure gold for the correct understanding of energy poverty, how it's affecting Ireland and in the world in a broader sense, and how that information can be integrated into the platform. And the last column here that we can mention about the REPO project, it's exactly about how to use that information. In a first moment, we collect the information. In another moment, we collect expertise in a way, and at some point, that the combination of those data sources for all that information and expertise should be explored and made available for communities, for researchers, policymakers, and whoever we think it's necessary, that the stakeholders that can benefit from that information, that will be fine-tuned, of course, to represent the reality about energy poverty and how initiatives all over the country are taking place in generating contributions. Again, the energy poverty in community practice, they have a perfect alignment. The thing about the energy poverty itself, it's a multidimensional issue. It goes beyond just the right energy prices. We can have situations where the two households with the same expenditure in energy can have completely different and completely disproportional realities on what concerns energy poverty. So boots in the ground is vital. The community exchange of the expertise and experience and understanding what's really happening in the communities is vital for that, because the traditional metrics goes only so far and it cannot cover everything. And this is something that being highlighted in recent funding initiatives, for example, trying to understand how what is the social acceptance of the specific technologies and how they are affecting the community, and what is the real social impact that we have from those initiatives, when you have to consider things beyond the technical aspects. You have to consider something that can be considered abstract when you consider actual needs, constraints, in cultural context. Just to mention one high-level example here is the problem with the energy, with the poverty stigma. It's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to approach communities, to approach households with this. Questioning about poverty. People don't like to be characterized as poor people and so on, despite all what is happening, despite the problems they may have, and this approach that the community of practice as something that is happening again, boots on the ground, close to the communities. This can help us develop a perfect understanding or an improved understanding of the energy poverty phenomena. Other than that, this seems to be as an energy poverty in actions like the community of practice would be a way to really create a real effective energy transition on what concerns the social impact and the communities that they may affect. Okay, Patrick, you have any final words, any closing lines?
No, I suppose the division will be that we will be making the data available to others, and it will be in a form that others could use, and that will be via an online portal or something like that, so that not only for ourselves and for maybe our narrow academic community, the division is that it would be a platform for other interested stakeholders to get a better grip of the causes and the impacts of energy poverty.
Okay. Everyone, thank you so much for the opportunity again. And I return the floor. Stop sharing.
Thank you very much. A big thank you to all our speakers today. And the floor is open now for questions. If there's anyone who has a question you'd like to ask, please proceed. I have also included the link to join the EUPS Community of Practice in the chat. So in case you want to know more about the EUPS, you want to join the Community of Practice, you've heard the last speakers stressing the importance of the Community of Practice. We need to make real change. We need to make real impact. So please click that link to learn more and to also register. But in the meantime, the floor is open. If you have questions, you could open your mic and ask any questions you may have, or you could just put it in the chat box. Thank you. Just as a form of recap, in case we're still trying to refresh our memories, we're like, oh, what did they talk about? So the first speaker, Stacey, Phelan, spoke about one-stop shops and IHRS. And then you also heard about the different types of one-stop shops from Mel. Then our last speakers also spoke about energy poverty. They spoke about the community of practice as well. So please, the floor is open to ask questions. There are no wrong questions, just in case we're like, oh, I'm not sure if this is a correct question, but please go ahead to
There's
ask any
no,
question.
there's no wrong questions, only wrong answers.
I like that. That's a different twist to it. Okay, so while we're waiting for people, in case there's anyone that has a question, I was also just thinking about these as we were having conversations, and this is open to everyone, both speakers, both participants. What do you think is the biggest barrier being faced in Ireland at the moment when supporting energy poor households to renovate their homes? What do we think, if we're to say, would be the biggest challenge at the moment?
I think I can get this one. One of the big challenges we have today, it's about data protection. Data protection is something that's always a concern. Again, as I said before, there's a reason for that. It's not just boring. That's not the point. We have all sorts of problems that come out of the if we don't take care with the data protection, and we have a long way to develop that. In the Rebel platform, we are taking care of those details and try to make, as Patrick said, try to make the data available in a way that it can be used freely, or as free as possible, in order to be useful, really useful for the communities or the stakeholders, the stakeholders that may benefit from that. Okay, for us today, the regulation that is there is at the same time important but limiting, because we have really tried to understand how to make it really useful, actionable information that will help the communities.
Okay, thank you very much for that response, Dr. Fabio. I actually really didn't think about data protection in that angle that you just presented. Does any other person have any questions or comments?
I'd like to add to what Fabio said. I'd agree, and the data is a big problem. Obviously, with everything, money is a problem. You know, we have support from SEAI, and I suppose, you know, the energy poor aren't really a homogenous group. A lot of people are in potentially in social housing as well, and getting at those houses is more probably a local authority issue. But those who aren't in local authority houses, it will be obviously there is grants, of course, to support, but their money needs to be put in from the citizen side. And a further thing for probably people who are a little bit older would be, you know, there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of complexity out there, and there's a lot of bureaucracy. And to an extent, to be honest, the one-stop shops, the one-stop shops that we talk about a lot in Ireland, the you know, the SSEs and all them, the commercial one-stop shops. Mel might have a better terminology for the different types of one-stop shops than me. They're very much interested in, of course, selling a particular product. So for a lot of people, there's an element of fear and not completely understanding what's happening and what's being sold and what the costs are likely to be. So I think that will be a significant factor also.
Thank you very much as well. Yep, go
I
ahead,
would
please.
add to that. I think you've touched on something there, Padraig, which is the renting energy poor. So we all know about the Warmer Home Scheme in Ireland, which is a great scheme. It's aimed at energy poverty, but you have to be the homeowner to avail of that, and the landlord.
Very good point, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So a lot of renters are probably falling into the energy poverty bracket, and there isn't anything at the moment to offer them. It's unlikely they can invest in the retrofit themselves. There are some increased grants available to energy poverty homes, but it's still really the homeowner that ends up with the benefit of that.
Yeah, and it's that split incentive problem. Like there's no significant investment for the landlord to invest in the fabric of a house beyond potential resale value. It doesn't present even, you know, maybe they might get a little bit more rent, but it's not significant. So everybody just ends up kind of standing still and doing nothing. And the people inside the house end up suffering.
Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, so Martin O'Melo here from EcoVision, formerly known as Energy Communities Tipperary Cooperative. So what we're seeing now is that people who have bought their local authority home, and now they're in a position where, like, they're not wealthy people, they don't qualify for the 100%, like they don't qualify for warmer homes, and neither do they have the means themselves to cover the non-grant part of a retrofit. So we're seeing, through the work we're doing in the Ren Power project and also in the project called Engage in Energy, we're seeing that there's huge numbers of those who are basically caught in the middle. So yes, the warmer homes is fantastic, and then in terms of the those who were able to qualify, or sorry, those who were able to back up, like the grant aided retrofit, that's fine, but unfortunately there's huge numbers there who are stuck in the middle. Thanks.
Thank you
Another
so much. Yeah. Please go
question
ahead,
there,
Mark.
or point
Yeah.
maybe for Mel. I suppose I'm here in the climate action in Carlow, and I suppose we're working with the SECs. I'm very interested in moving this, interest to commitment continuum. And I suppose what we're finding, we're working with the SECs and that we're finding the community groups can probably lay their hands on audits and support their the businesses who are interested via Green for Business and things like that, and the energy audit scheme, if they want to progress, can do that. But I suppose we're finding on the home domestic stuff, this interest to commitment, and where the design and the I suppose audits and assessments fall in that. So we've a lot of people very interested. They've done all the preliminary work on the web. They're looking at the one-stop shop, but it's a bit scary. It's maybe not ready to jump, and they require this kind of intermediate, I suppose, assessment support stage. And I suppose is how to kind of facilitate that. Now, obviously, we can't. Somebody spoke earlier on about conversion rates. You can't go and design up every possible interested person, but I think it's bridging that gap and getting the interested candidate moved on, and I suppose offering them independent advice, which is not sales. I think there's a lot of sales and kind of push, and people just get really scared off. And like I say, a lot of people aren't ready to jump onto the one-stop shop. So I suppose that's what I'm interested in, trying to come up with some answer there. Now I know they do have an option to avail of the home energy assessment just as a standalone, but I'd be wondering, do many people actually avail of that, or usually like it's one-stop shop or nothing, but do people kind of do that intermediate kind of independent assessment stage, or do you have any kind of suggestions of how that might be facilitated?
Quite a few people will just go for a BER and take their guidance from the advisory report, and hopefully sit with the BER assessor and discuss the advisory report in the background. That's not as detailed as a full home energy assessment or full HEA, which is why the HEA tends to cost a good bit more.
Yeah.
The HEA is still a good option if they are considering, even though you're still looking at a good few €100 probably out of your pocket to get that. It is a valuable piece of work. Now, next year, we should be seeing the introduction of what's called a building renovation passport. This is coming from the Energy Performance and Building Directives. That is going to build on this advice stage a little bit more by identifying stages a retrofit can take. What is the best measure to do at the start of your investment? What should you be thinking about in 2 years' time for 3 years' time for an investment? That hopefully will improve that. It still doesn't change that overall cost at the moment.
So, yeah, I think the BER is probably a bit too watery to get into the meat, and you could argue that if you're talking about making a 50,000+ investment, spending a few €100, like what's the problem with that? But it is a block, and people kind of aren't willing to do it, I think, and it's a problem. But that passport thing you mentioned sounds good.
Now, I often say to a lot of the people in the communities, when they come up and they just say they just want a bit of advice, if you know a good local retrofit builder and ask their advice, they can often give you a good advice. Yes, they may be trying to sell you something, and they may focus on the elements that they are used to, if it's insulation and things like that. But a good local builder can often give you some good starting advice.
Yeah, I'm part of an SCC in Abbey Leaks, and a number of years ago we were one of the first to sign up, and they did a really interesting idea. They called it a kind of a Tupperware party. So they picked one guy in the community to be the kind of guinea pig. He got the full home energy assessment, and the idea was when the energy assessor came back to feed it back, you called in 7 or 8 of your friends. They threw you a couple of quid to pay for the tea and the biscuits. And it was a really interesting model, I thought. And I know in that case, I was the guinea pig myself, but of that group of 8, I would say, probably 5 or so went on to actually do something. But I think it was a nice model, and it, like I say, it's something you should probably do anyway, but it just kind of removed that block. But I think it's a really necessary piece that's getting overlooked, and there's only so many ready reckoners on the internet, and you really need someone to come to your home, or at least go to a home, in an estate maybe with similar homes, but I think somebody has to go and visit, and all the ready reckoners in the world won't solve that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, shared learning is great. That's what this community is about as well. But at that level, at a street level, neighborhood level, that kind of shared learning is invaluable. Yeah.
Okay, so I will wrap up shortly with this comment. Peter Corner, posted, one thing that proved useful in Belgium and the Netherlands was to have people go out into the community to provide same support as the one-stop shop. It was particularly useful in local authorities that weren't big enough to have the one-stop shops. Okay. That's a different idea. In the absence of any more questions, I would say thank you to all our speakers. A very big thank you to everyone. As soon as this meeting is over, the feedback survey will pop up. If you're with your phone, you could just quickly scan. It's important for us to take feedback so we know how we can improve, what you would need for us to do in subsequent webinars. This presentation as well is going to be shared, so please feel free to share the presentation with any other person you think should listen to this. There will be other webinars coming up. We will announce the dates, and we also encourage you to please be part of the community of practice for the EUPS. A big thank you again to all the participants and to all the speakers. Thank you. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Edima.
Thank you, Edima.
Thank everyone.
Thank you.